Something I know a lot of people have in common is their absolute hatred of Microsoft. And that's fair, they've done a lot of dumb shit. Such as releasing an identical port of Minecraft but with stupid inaccuracies and microtransactions. The bane of my existence. But my biased mind has a completely different problem with them. In 2002, Microsoft bought the company Rareware, killing my favourite game franchise of all time, or at least somewhat killing it. Granted, I wasn't alive at the time, but later on in life, this deeply affected me. Not only did they buy the company, they also got them to do some of the most mediocre work for the consoles they were attributed to, like ever. And with the games these guys have produced, you'd expect them to be used for something more substantial than remakes of other titles and, Xbox Connect.
You've come back for more, Ian.
Yep, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Oh, and Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. A game advertised as the all-new Banjo adventure, just for it to throw everything everyone loved about the original two games out of the window. Let's just say I'm very happy for the Rareware team and how they are now working at Playtonic, working on ukulele stuff, because I like ukulele, it's good, despite what the popular opinion suggests. Fucking hell. Okay, now with that out of the way, let's finally get into the topic of today's review. Banjo-Kazooie hacks, aka the closest thing we'll ever get to a new Banjo game. Pretty much ever. There are quite a few in development over the years, and only a few have actually released since the hacking actually started. You have Banjo-Threeie, which is kind of a full hack despite having no Jiggies, for some reason. And then you have Banjo-Kazooie, Jiggies of Time. Just gonna get this out of the way, because from the title this is pretty obvious. Jiggies of Time is amazing. It's everything I've ever wanted in a Banjo hack, despite it being a crossover hack. When playing it for the first time, it just felt like the third Banjo game in a way. All the elements are here, along with an added amount of Zelda, which by the way, you technically don't need to play beforehand if you want to give this a shot as a Banjo fan who's never played Ocarina of Time before, as the game takes steps in giving proper guidance as to where the player should go next through context clues and just general sense of direction, which I'll go into later. By the way, this is my way of saying I have not played Ocarina of Time before. In my opinion though, you should take this into consideration when I'm talking about my budding positivity towards this hack, because despite it being a crossover of two projects, one of which I haven't played, it still manages to be better than anything else I've played so far. So without further ado, welcome to why Banjo-Kazooie Jiggies of Time is the best hack so far. Your first logical question is how the hell I'm going to structure this review, or maybe you aren't asking that question because I've secretly been preparing you guys for the structure changes so far this season. My answer to that question of course is, wait and fucking see. First, we have the usual stuff. Jiggies of Time was created by Mark Kurko and released on July 12th, 2020. This game was in development for about 5 years from what I heard, and I had not heard about it much, but I do remember watching the F3 trailer for this prior to playing and being very hyped because it looked really good, as I'd only heard a few small things beforehand. I was not expecting the final result to be this good though. That's about it for general stuff. So we begin in Kokiri Forest, which is pretty cool, and immediately starts to show the differences this hack has compared to the original game. In this case, it's the structure. In this hack, some level entrances are located inside certain levels, like Death Mountain's entrance being located in Kakariko Village. I promise you, I am butchering these names, and I promise you, I do not care. Back to the Kokiri Forest though, the level is designed so that when you first enter, you're probably going to have a quick look around before noticing that you can't do shit because you haven't learned the basic moves. Assuming you said yes to Bottles' offer, of course. If you said no, you still can't use jump pads and shoot eggs though, so you still have to go to Lost Woods to learn that stuff. Don't worry though, just like in the original game, you get empty honeycombs for your trouble. so the tutorial stuff is still worth it on a replay. After learning the moves, you can then do Kokiri Forest. I'm happy that this hack sticks with the gameplay style from the original, where you can 100% each level upon entering, assuming you've done everything beforehand that's required for you to beat the level, of course. More on that later. This is a very big step up from how Banjo-Threeie did things. In Banjo-Threeie, you would have to basically re-enter every level like a bunch of times because the notes don't save and the notes are your primary objective. It's very redundant in that sense. But anyway, I think this level in particular is a good place to talk about the game's visuals, which are absolutely fantastic in my opinion. And this is the best looking level, with the falling leaves, vibrant colours, nature aesthetic, and really introducing the rest of the game's visual style very well. If you look at the original Kokiri Forest from Ocarina of Time, compared to this recreation, the big difference is obviously the fact that it's a lot brighter and suited to fit the Banjo-Kazooie style. Honestly, I'd say this game's visuals are actually a step up from both the original games. Of course that wouldn't sound like a surprise considering the games I've covered already. But let's be fair here, Banjo-Kazooie looks a lot nicer and more detailed compared to SM64, meaning having a hack of Banjo-Kazooie be better looking than Banjo-Kazooie itself is actually way more of an impressive feat if you ask me. Please take a shot every time I say Banjo or Jiggy in this video. Anyway, so after doing everything you want to do in Kokiri Forest and getting the 50 musical notes required to leave the area, you are greeted with... This is easily one of my most favourite areas in the whole game. It just feels so homely. Looking through the footage I got, there are a lot of instances where I just walk around listening to the game's best music, hands down. Speaking of music, this game's music is also very great, some even sounding better than the original tracks they're based off, mainly Hyrule Field and Gerudo Valley. Please tell me I said that right. I wish I could just play both songs right now, but that would just be filler. But the creator of both tracks, Linus Olsson, I hope to God I said that correctly, has these songs on his channel, so definitely give them a listen. Here are a few other tracks I enjoy though. Oh yes, this is where the end credits theme for the past few reviews is from. It's just such a calm song, and I love this Banjo-Kazooie rendition of it. I could go on all day about the topic of music in this hack, as it's just so great, but I'm afraid we must move on to the next level. Castle Town is a pretty good level, nothing too convoluted. All the Jiggies are once again very well laid out in a way that means you won't miss one of them. It's all good. Except this one area, which on the original release was an insta-death area. Now falling just brings you back to the level entrance, but in my opinion this is just still a little bit too punishing. Especially seeing as this is World 2. And let's be fair, Banjo-Kazooie isn't really well known for its great precise platforming, but that's honestly not much of a slip up. The rest of the level is still very good. Eventually, once you're finished, you'll then head over to Kakariko Village. Again, I hope I said that right. Another really good level. Honestly, it's one of my favorites. It's just got such a calming presence to it. I don't really have much to say about this level though, that's the thing. It's good, but again, there's not much to talk about on this one. Next up though, we have Death Mountain, which as I said before, is located inside Kakariko Village. Like a level to Ducken, am I right? What is Death Mountain like? It's fine, it's one of the weaker levels in my opinion. Honestly, it's the transformations that really bring down some levels in my opinion. Just like in Banjo-Kazooie, they're just the most unfun part. And in Death Mountain, and the next level in fact, I feel like they aren't very impactful to the levels as a whole, and just feature a lot of going back and forth, breaking stuff, and then going to get the transformation and then returning to get the thing inside that you can't get. The ant in particular just moves so slow, and that's probably because it was suited to fit the very small Mumbo's Mountain in the original game. And it's just what makes the moving back and forth between areas here so sluggish. But again, that's really my only complaint. There's plenty to like in this level. I really like the Dodongo Cavern area. I think the challenges here are going along a natural difficulty progression, which is streets ahead of what the other hacks I've reviewed were doing, except Another Mario Adventure of course. Oh, and like with earlier on the precise platforming section in Castle Town, in the original release for this hack there are plenty of areas in which you can instantly die and lose all your notes. This is removed in future versions however, so I won't dock any points for it. Next up is Zora's Domain, probably the weakest level in my opinion. Not a lot sticks out here, except a Jiggy I just don't plain like. The only Jiggy I don't like actually. Banjo Kart is just too precise with its time limit, and once again the transformation just didn't do it for me. And it personally highlights a very big issue in this game I have as a whole, probably the only issue. The Mumbo token situation. In the original you would find these things everywhere. That's not to say you don't find them everywhere here as well, but something tells me you find quite less than in the original. As on 2 different occasions I found myself having to leave the level I was in to find more of them in previous levels. Which means I had to recollect all the notes I had again. Honestly, I don't know why this is a problem, it just happened twice and it really irritated me. Anyways, back onto the level, I like the music here, that's pretty much all my thoughts. So far you're probably thinking, dude, you think this is the best hack? You've been rather negative with the last 2 levels. Well, let's get into the next level and you'll find out exactly why this game is so fucking good. The Forest Temple is legit one of the best levels I've ever played, hands down. It is so fucking good. Now, I'm not going to go through everything in this level, as that's a story for another day. Yes, I can devote episodes to levels I like as well. Right now, I'm just going to summarize my main points with this level in order to get my point across. First off, it's like if you had a level in Banjo-Threeie that didn't require you to venture the entire world to get 1 Jiggy. You may think that that was a lampshade, but no, I genuinely love doing that stuff in Threeie. But yeah, that's exactly what this level feels like. It's complex and has a lot of adventuring, but eventually all the work you put in pays off and feels quite rewarding. At first, you enter the level thinking it's just a normal world. Go in, get the notes, Jiggies, get out, simple as fuck, right? Well no, you're wrong. Cheeto quickly informs you that this is no ordinary level, and requires you to pay attention to your surroundings, take notes, and pictures. When I first saw this on my first playthrough, I thought this would either suck or be the best thing ever. Luckily, my experience was the latter. Anyway, so yeah, the level has secret codes and hints laid out along the walls and floors and stuff, and as you explore you'll find the answers to these puzzles. The main puzzle is probably the hidden alphabet throughout the level, which you'll find around everywhere. I love how once you find like 10 to 15 of these letters, you can fill in the gaps on your own because of common sense. The mysteriousness of the level eventually turns into a feeling of certainty though, as you start to know all the ins and outs, and how to get everywhere. Of course, if you've actually played Ocarina, this probably won't apply to you as you know how to get around the Forest Temple naturally, but honestly, I prefer the Forest Temple because of how unfamiliar I was with it. Anyway, that's enough on that. For now, let's get on to the next level. Lake Hylia is also a great level, as it features the best use of meta humor I've ever seen in a game ever. So you know how the Water Temple is one of the most hated and complained about levels ever? It's so hated and complained about that I actually know about the fact that it is hated. And when going into this area for the first time, I felt kinda scared. But the funny thing is, the Water Temple is actually one of the most easiest areas in this hack, hands down. It's easy to get around, there's no raising and lowering the water, yes I've even heard about that. It's just straightforward and easy to do. So easy that Banjo and Kazooie poke fun at this. I fucking love this joke. Mark Kurko could have easily made this level hard and boring like people say about the regular water temple, but no. He went out of his way to make it easy for the sake of a good joke. Now that's dedication. Back onto Lake Hylia, the outside area is pretty cool as well. Even if I'm starting to get a little tired of aiming your arse to shoot eggs and hit stuff below you objective by this point. Before we head over to Gerudo Valley, there is another area worth talking about. This area is Lon Lon Park, based off of Lon Lon Ranch from the original, with the whole area being repurposed into a theme park containing 7 Jiggies, which are pretty fun to obtain, except the invisible wall maze that sucked, I won't lie. That's basically it. It's just a fun side thing to do at any point in the game after being able to access the flight pads, which in the hub world act as these day-night cycle swappers, which is pretty cool honestly. Okay, so now we head over to Gerudo Valley, the final normal level before we go to Grunty's final challenge. Once again, this level is great, but I really wish the Mumbo token requirement was a little more lenient, because this is the second level I was forced to leave because there wasn't enough to go around. I think an improvement to this would be making sure all or most of the Mumbo tokens in each level can be collected without the use of a transformation, as I noticed quite a few required transformations in order to reach them. Luckily the transformation itself is quite cool. It's a reskin of the transformation from Click Clock Wood in the original that makes it look like a broomstick. Speaking of that transformation in Click Clock Wood, this hack is obsessed with these things and I am not going to say them by their name.
Bees!
These things are so annoying, and again, I'm pretty sure they were nerfed. I'm pretty sure they were nerfed in future versions, and honestly, why wouldn't you? These things suck. And they require like 5 golden feathers to deal with, which isn't exactly a problem, as you can avoid them on occasion, but sometimes you literally can't escape them, as you are either required to stand still and use eggs, or use a jump pad, which has you slowly jump up, giving these things enough time to hit you and stop your jump entirely. Bad enemies. And this is the level they used the most in out of the entire hack. But at least I can say that both of one of the SM64 and Banjo-Kazooie's first major hacks had an annoying enemy like this. They suck, and that's why I'm never saying what they are by name. Also, unlike Star Road, these enemies don't make the level they're in absolute garbage. They just add mild inconvenience to a couple areas. Gerudo Valley is, once again, a good level. Finally, we get to Grunty's castle, and one minor complaint I have is probably the fact that it isn't explicitly obvious that you can climb the poles in the Temple of Time, as the first time I played the game, I had to commit the cardinal sin of looking up the answer on YouTube. Anyway, joke aside, maybe either a sign or NPC dialogue would help with this. For my uneducated face that hasn't played Ocarina of Time and has only researched the specific names for this video. Anyway, you get to Grunty's castle by finding the World Unlock puzzle in the Temple of Time, opening the final stage. Now, one thing I can definitely say about this hack is that it did a massive wonder by removing Grunty's Furnace Fun from the game. Thank you, Mark Kurko, you are a saint. Furnace Fun is the weakest thing about Banjo-Kazooie, by far, and it's not in this hack at all. Instead, you get exactly what should have been in the game in the first place, a final level, and by that I mean a fully realised level with 10 Jiggies and notes to collect. I love the music here, by the way. Just good, I had to say that. I also think the level is good, except it has another transformation in it, and this is by far the weakest transformation as it moves so slow. And one Jiggy just requires you to go into a small spot with it across the map. Other than that, I don't really have any other complaints, just a solid final level that does its best to incorporate the moves learned throughout the game. Once again, just like how the original should have done. Another thing I didn't really like though is the note doors blocking off parts of the level for some reason. I don't know, I would rather had all the level open and not all progress blocked like a hub world. Anyway, once you've collected 864 notes in total, in the whole game, not the whole level, after that you are greeted with the final boss, after walking up loads of stairs. This is probably in the original game, right? One question I do have is if it's possible to double your resources like in the original, because I'm not sure if it's possible or not, it's just curious. In terms of the final boss, there's not a lot to comment on here because it's just the same as the original, except there's a bit of lava around to make it a little harder. The grunty battle has always sucked though, to be honest, even if beating it is satisfying to do. Anyway, that is about it. Overall, I absolutely adore this hack. Wait, no, sorry, game. Yes, this game is just so full of polish and attention that it doesn't even feel like a hack at this point, which is exactly the kind of stuff I've been looking for to dominate the ranking. I may have liked Last Impact and Another Mario Adventure, but this is on another level. Great music, level design, texture work that manages to stay true to the crossed over games while having its own charm, and a difficulty curve that isn't overly obnoxious. These are all things I've been looking for, and trust me, there are SM64 hacks that have these things. Another Mario Adventure I'd say fits the criteria pretty well. Anyway, thanks to everyone for joining me on this different kind of episode. I hope you enjoyed me going through the game from start to finish for once, instead of me jumping around in topic sections like I usually do. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment, and share the video with your friends if they find this kind of thing interesting. I'm gonna do something I've never done before and have a like goal. Can this video get to 10 likes? If it does, then expect more Banjo hacks and other games to be put into the series, alongside SM64 being the main focus. Anyway, thanks for watching. Oh, and this hack gets a 9.4 out of 10, here's the ranking. Don't worry, there will be a separate ranking created for Banjo-Kazooie once more hacks of it get reviews, and get on out of here, you losers.